What's up, guys? This is Ian from Wheel Every Weekend, and I'm Braden from Overland Outfitters. And this is our second time doing shock value. This is series 2, and we're doing it because we want to make sure that you guys are getting the best value for your money.
Yeah, and the important thing is, like, obviously some shops, you naturally get better margins on some products than the other, and so we have an inherent bias because of that.
Yeah.
But what both of us really care about is making sure that our customers are getting the best product possible for the application.
Even if we make less money on it.
Yeah, honestly, it's just better for everyone long term, and also it makes it so that other people have to kind of keep up.
Yeah.
Advances the industry as a whole.
For sure.
So we're gonna deep dive into the 6 shocks that we tested.
And by the way, if you didn't see our first video where we went through all the shocks and we got shocked ourselves, you should check it out. We'll put it up here and in the description as well, because it was a super fun video where we go through all the shocks and rank them. And so right now we are releasing a deep dive video from each shock, going from the worst ones to the best ones.
Yep. And the worst ones, our baseline test was done with the same exact shock. It had 170,000 kilometers on it, and it wasn't that bad.
No,
I expected much worse out of it, honestly. I was pretty surprised in general.
Yeah, so basically what Ian's saying is we did a baseline test in a Tacoma, and the Tacoma was stock.
Yep.
And then we've been comparing all these shocks to that stock Tacoma. And so our worst test, which was actually test 5, was this Westcott Spacer preload lift. So basically what you're doing, or what you're getting with that kit, is you are getting a small top hat spacer and you're getting a preload spacer that you put on your stock shock. And what that's doing is preloading the coil, which is giving you some lift, and it's putting a top hat spacer on, which is also giving you some lift. But there's a lot of drawbacks to doing that.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that I know the engineers who build these shocks specifically have talked to me about is these shocks can get very close to coil bind without a spacer lift on them, just from the factory.
Yeah, so as soon as you start preloading your shocks and adding spacers, it's pretty likely that you're going to be hitting coil bind when you're hitting big bumps.
Yeah, although at the same time, these are only what, $270? So
something like that.
If you just want lift and you don't care about ride quality or performance,
then it's a good option.
Yeah, I guess it's right up your alley.
It's for looks and not for performance.
Yeah.
And I feel like Westcott would tell you the same thing. If you're wanting to pound your shocks, they would probably recommend you not go this way either. But, we wanted to throw them in the test just to see how they stacked up against some real lift suspension.
Yeah, and so for these, it's the stock Toyota TRD front shocks. We tested these same shocks in our baseline, but they were just a used set that came on the truck. So these are brand new to give the spacer lift kind of like the best chance of succeeding.
And it sucked.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, look at this. Look at this. That's the rubber bushing just being squished out. I wasn't there for the installation of these, but I hear it was very scary.
Yeah, we obviously didn't get to see these shocks when we were testing them, so that we were completely unbiased. And we both agreed that these were definitely the worst.
Yeah.
And then after having them all revealed, the mechanics told us they were the worst to install as well. So that's fun. Yeah, the bushings are blown out. And if you look at the eye, we ran these shocks for maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, something like that. And you can already see that the whole eye of the shock is being pushed towards the top. And that shouldn't be happening after just a few hours of running them.
No, and I have seen this on like 5100s that have quite a few miles on them, and typically they have a spacer lift on them.
Yeah.
Because this, like, Cleveite bushing is rated for a certain amount of spring force, and if you exceed that, it's outside of the engineering specs. So also, if you sent this to Bilstein and we're like, hey, I want this warranted because this bushing failed, they would just laugh at you.
Yeah.
Because you don't qualify for a warranty.
Yeah, you've changed the geometry. They're probably bottoming out on the shock, or at least getting close to it. And you're preloading a coil that's not meant to have that much preload on it.
Thing that I've noticed a couple times on these, I typically don't install spacer lifts, but I'm mainly like a performance shop, so I honestly don't install 2.0s that much.
We're in the same bracket as you. Like, I always tell people not to do a spacer lift because they're gonna affect geometry and stuff like that. And a key component of the geometry being affected is this right here.
You can see this coil is getting smashed, and this is from only a couple hours. So for those of you who live in the Rust Belt, like my buddy here, this is going to start to rust right away, and you can snap a coil because of it.
Not to mention having your ball joint limited by hitting the coil is going to wear out your ball joints substantially faster, and probably your upper control arm bushings too, because they're just having this leverage put on them that they're not designed for. So yeah, there's a few downsides to running a setup like this. For the rear shocks, these are just stock 4600s, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with them necessarily.
No, I think they're quite good.
Yeah.
Looks like they didn't bottom out, and I don't know.
Yeah, they come with their plastic boots.
What are these things, like 80 bucks or something?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, they were fine. So if you're just looking to replace your shocks, these were great.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a lift and you want some performance, I would definitely go with something that is not this. If you're just looking for looks, this will work for you for a couple $100. So I don't really have too much else to say about these. We, we tested them over razor burn, and they did mediocre. They were very clunky. They were like topping out and bottoming out a lot. It felt like there was no kind of damping in the middle of the stroke. And then when we hit some bigger whoops and stuff, we had to slow down quite a lot. We'll show you the graphs and stuff. And they just weren't up to the spec of the other shocks we tested.
Yeah, and admittedly, they were not actively trying to kill us.
That's true.
Which is better than
some of the shocks that we tested.
Some of the shocks, but it just wasn't a pleasant experience overall. On-road, off-road, everything.
So if you were to give these a rating out of 10, with the baseline being a 5, what would you give them?
I mean, they're much worse than stock shocks.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe like a 2?
Yeah,
2,
I'm thinking between
3?
a 2 and a 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't recommend this setup unless, like we said, you're just rolling on the street and you just want to lift. So, because on street, they rode pretty fine. They were really similar to stock, honestly.
Yeah, and like, if you're only doing street driving, you probably don't need aftermarket shocks.
No, so if that's all you're doing, then like we said 3 or 4 times already, this will be the cheapest option to get you going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It'll be good.
So thanks so much for watching. If you're into these deeper looks at the shocks that we tested in Shock Value 2.0, get subscribed, like this video. We love doing them, and we hope that they're educational for you guys, helping you out making good purchasing decisions. And we'll see you in the next one.